All right, welcome to the first episode, or tuning in. Can we see me? Okay. We are live at Eugene Mineworks right now. I am Scott Engler, and I am very pleased to introduce you to Melissa Jackson here. She lives locally here in Eugene, and she is also featured in my last two publications. One's up and coming, it's Job Seeker, the 21st Century, the University Edition. And the other one is Legends of the Recruiting and Career World, which was published back in April of this year. So the reason I'm here with Melissa today is because she has an incredible story about where she's come from, what she's done, and then what she's doing now. She's doing big things and rocking the world and helping a lot of people. And so I just am really honored to have her here today, and just grateful that our paths have crossed. Known her for a little over a year now? Yeah. So Melissa came to the workshop I did here at Eugene. It's actually a spin-off of the Love in Your Living training series. So it was awesome to have Melissa be a part of that. And as we were hanging out, she shared a story about where she's come from, and I was like, wow, I gotta have this girl story in my book.
Oh, thank you.
So I'm gonna open up to Melissa, and I just want her to share with people what's happened for her so they could hear. And please feel free. Can you see what people are posting?
I don't know if I'll be able to read that, but...
Yeah, it's going to be hard. We might have to answer after, but please feel free to answer your questions, and maybe if Melissa has a little time afterward, she could answer them. We're trying to figure out the spacing of things, so we're a little further away from the phone as we would like to be, but please post any comments or questions you might have, and we'll do our best to get back to them after the video.
Yeah.
All right, Melissa.
Okay, probably like many of you, I'm not super comfortable talking about myself. I was sharing that with Scott. I'm like, this is a little out of my comfort zone, but that's okay, because part of what I've learned in life is to take risks and to push yourself and be out of your comfort zone. So I just like to preface that with, this is not ideal, but I'm doing it, and you can do it too. But I did meet Scott about a year ago, and I was telling him a little bit about where I work and the journey of how I got there. So I'm just going to share a little history and a little bit how I got there, similar to the story that I told Scott about a year ago. And hopefully some of you guys can relate to some of the key components. I know everyone has a different story, and everybody has their own challenges and difficulties, and this is just my story and how I navigated that. Going back a little bit, I was married at age 23 to someone that I knew from my childhood. And we ended up having 3 kids, and I was able to be a stay-at-home mom, and he was in the military. So about 4 years ago, we're gonna do this live.
I'm bringing this closer so everyone can see
this. Just on my face.
This beautiful lady. What? All right. Sorry guys, you're gonna have to. There we go.
Right,
look at her.
That's better. Right. You're right. That is better.
Yeah.
Before it was just our faces.
Oh yeah, you can see.
So we'll
all right, here.
So about 4 years ago, we moved to Eugene, Oregon, so that my ex-husband at the time could attend University of Oregon. And shortly after moving here, about 9 months later, we split up. I determined that it was no longer a healthy or safe relationship for me and my children. And it was a very tough decision because I didn't have a lot of local support. I didn't have a lot of friends yet. I was essentially on my own. I didn't know what to do. But one of the friends that I did have suggested calling and just making a phone call to Women's Space. And Women's Space is a local organization that helps women and children in domestic violence situations. So I called them, and long story short, they ended up telling me that I needed to go to their safe house, and they actually had a bed open. So I remember moving me and my kids into Women's Space Safe House right after Christmas, and not really sure what I was going to do. I didn't have a job. I didn't have money. I didn't have anywhere to live. I was living in a shelter temporarily. And I was also an online student. I was going part-time trying to get my undergrad degree in psychology. And there was just a lot of unknown variables. It was by far the most trying time in my life. And I remember thinking, let's just do one day at a time and just focus on my goals. I knew I had to finish school if I was going to support my children on my own. And I knew I had to figure out the next few steps. So as hard as it was, I decided not to drop out of school, and I continued to go even though I honestly don't know how I did in that mind frame. But I remember 2 weeks before my 3rd month in the shelter, I sat down with the counselor and she said, okay, well, we can't give you any more extensions. You have 2 weeks to find living and to be out. And at that time, I hadn't found anywhere to live, and I barely just got a part-time job. And she looked at me and said, well, you can stay at the mission and other things. So I've never been so fearful that me and my children would be homeless and not know where to go. And I luckily ended up getting a job with Rise Services, where I currently work right now. And that was a really big turning point. I remember it took me a while to find a job, but once I did, I think that was a great starting point to get on my feet. And shortly after I did, I wasn't homeless. I got some housing. It all worked out last minute. And I worked at that job for a year. Rise Services is a nonprofit, and we work with individuals with developmental disabilities. So I worked there for a year in the entry-level position. And I remember feeling like I need to do something to make more money. And a month before I graduated with my bachelor's, I remember emailing my boss's boss, who I didn't know very well. And it was really, really out of character for me. I don't know if many people are like this, but I'm not one to ask for a promotion or even self-advocate as much. So it was really out of my comfort zone. But I remember during that time listening to a lot of YouTube inspirational things and anything I could get my hands on, reading books, anything to keep hope and positive attitude and fill me up spiritually and intellectually and emotionally. And one of the things that always stood out to me is that risk takers tend to be successful, and it pays off even out of your comfort zone. So that kind of stuck with me. So I said, I'm just going to try it, and all they can say is no, and I can look stupid for a second. But I drafted this email and all the reasons why they should create this position for me. They currently weren't hiring for another upper management position, nor did they have any of those in Eugene area. So I remember drafting this email arguing why they needed to create a position and hire me for that. And they did, and they said great. And they hired me initially as an assistant coordinator, because there's no office support here. There was no local management in Eugene. I was the only one, and they wanted to see if it was going to work. So they hired me for a couple months as an assistant trial basis, and it worked, and I became a coordinator. And now I was promoted again as the assistant director overseeing family services and the behavioral department. So in 3.5 years, I believe through hard work and taking risks and doing things that you're not sure you can do, but having a little bit of faith in yourself and hoping that it will all work out, because usually it does, and it pays off. So
yeah, and I just want to ask Melissa, that was such a great job.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter, we don't need to see me right now. But you know, could you share, because I think something that was really important that you touched on was when you wrote that letter, you didn't feel that confident at the time, right? Because I think a lot of us feel like, myself included, that we need to be ready before we do something, and the truth is that we're never really ready.
No.
You just kind of have to go for it. And
yeah, that's true. I literally didn't know how the job worked or what it entailed, or if I could work at home out of a coffee shop with no support that was local. But I think if you just have a little bit of faith in yourself and just do it, I think a lot of people are afraid of failing, which I'm in that category, and you're more afraid, and I feel like women specifically too take less risks because we are perfectionists and we don't want to look certain ways, or we just don't take as many risks as male. And I could be wrong, but that's my opinion.
I'm a perfectionist. I know a lot of other guys are, but yeah.
That's my opinion, but I feel like women were raised a little bit to take less risks generally. And so it's out of your comfort zone. But if you get out of your comfort zone, I think that's the whole point of growing and evolving. And for me, that's a big thing. Being self-aware and being able to evolve means you get out of your comfort zone, like talking live on Facebook with you.
Yeah.
Not ideal comfort level for me. But when Scott asked me, I said yes, because I want to say yes more often, because that's how you grow and that's how you learn. And, you know, I know that my story is really not that different than anybody else's. I think it comes down to taking risks, like I mentioned, and perseverance and having goals. It's a really simple principle, but it works. If you can set a goal, and mine was at first just to find housing and survive. And then it was, okay, I want to finish my bachelor's. And that was my goal. And you do that and you check it off. And now I'm in grad school and I want to get my master's. And you just focus one goal at a time, and you have perseverance, which means you sacrifice social things and you sacrifice time. But if you persevere, endure, have goals, and take risks, I feel like anybody can do it, really.
Yeah, and I was even sharing with Melissa earlier, we don't need to move the camera, but when I was telling her before, when I was on the live news, I thought I was going to throw up. I was terrified, and when I first started doing YouTube videos, I was terrified, and I share this with people a lot, that I'm scared whenever I start something new. I'm doing an online course for the first time. It's scary putting myself out there, writing a book.
Yeah.
Every time is vulnerable, and I forget sometimes certain things I've taken for granted now, that like, you know, posting about articles and stuff, like at first for me was terrifying, and every time I go to that next level, even Facebook Live, I was resisting. I was scared, you know, it's like, oh, everyone's seen and they could comment live, like it doesn't have to be something in the background. So, you know, I think what I love sharing with people, and Melissa touched on too, was when she wrote that letter to get that promotion, you weren't sure, like, I know I'm going to get this. And you didn't know if what you were saying was like 100%. Because I think a lot of people, especially perfectionists, want to feel it before they do it. And it's like, no, there's still doubt, like, right? I don't want to speak for you, but that's how I felt.
And you're like, I hope so.
Yeah, you're like, I hope what I'm saying is true.
I'm putting it out there.
Yeah.
That false confidence, but.
Yeah, the first time I had a client pay for me, I'm like, oh my God, am I really good enough? You know, like I wanted to work under someone. And so I had to go through that too, and I still go through that, you know, from time to time, and sometimes more so than others, you know, and then I have to remind myself, oh my gosh, this client just got this and this and this and this job. So we all go through that, and I think it's just important to point out and remember. And now, Melissa, what's your position at Rise?
At Rise, I'm assistant director.
Wow. Yeah, and where'd you start out at?
The entry level, it's a direct support professional position, so it's our entry level position, and working hands-on with the kiddos with disabilities. And now I'm just kind of overseeing those programs. But
that's so awesome. And you've been there for how long now?
3.5 years.
3.5 years. Wow. Was there anything? Was there anything else you wanted to share?
Yeah, I hope I captured kind of the message that you were hoping to get across to other people. I know you really try to encourage people in their professional development and how to find the right job for them and how to succeed in the right job. And I think a lot of that is knowing yourself and what you're passionate about, taking risks and just getting it. Just get it.
And then actually while we're on, this wasn't planned, but what did you get? Because I am going to be doing the Loving Your Living course starting in mid-September, and you were actually one of the people that attended when I did the 5-week workshop. I called it Boundaries in Business, but really it was the same thing. It was for entrepreneurial types and small business owners going after what they loved and focusing on what your strengths are and how to align that with your passion. So maybe you could share with people watching what your experience was like. Yeah, you're actually a good student.
Yeah, the first time I met Scott was at his training here at MindWorks, and I thought it was phenomenal. I thought it was really, really great. It's a great time to get new information, but also there was pieces of self-reflection. And the training I loved, he hit on some key components that I still remember a year later. And one of them was burnout. And I think that's a big one. A lot of people tend to be workaholics and work a lot. And to balance how to prevent burnout so you're still productive and still love your job and not overdoing it. And some great leadership tips on how to be a great leader and not micromanage, and just some leadership things. So I really, really loved it. It's definitely worth it.
Good. And I thought the other cool thing, and you could share on your experience, was the group of people. There was like 5 of you guys that really stuck in there, like you, Shay, Damon, and Loma was there for most of them. How was that? Like just the group component? Because I thought that was really cool for you guys too.
Yeah, there's a lot of interactive pieces, and also you get to meet local people who are professionals and network and just kind of hear what works for them on the certain topics and learn from them in that setting. Scott really allows people to share things and to participate. It's a big piece of that, so I thought that was really beneficial.
Yeah, and this one is going to be the same thing except virtually, I was telling him, because it's going to be online.
Oh, okay.
But you know, having that support system, like I saw like so many things opening for you guys, and I know Damon and Shay were doing some stuff together, and you and Aloma were connecting, and you guys had some little challenges for the week. But I thought that was an awesome component to see on my end, was you guys building those relationships and networking and encouraging each other. So that's a really powerful thing too, aside from the information. I think that culmination really just has a lasting effect. So Well,
get in there.
Let's everybody virtually thank Melissa for being on here. That was awesome. I know this was totally new for her. And
put you on there.
Okay, we'll put me on. Thank you so much to Melissa for being on here. She is featured in my book, Legends of the Recruiting and Career World, and she's also featured on my upcoming publication, which is Job Seeker of the 21st Century, the University Edition, which I hope will be in universities across the world pretty soon, because there's a lot of other great stories like hers of people from all different walks and backgrounds of life, and just been an honor to know this woman, and hope that I continue to watch her shine and she could watch me shine, and you know, just a great person to know. So hope you guys got something out of this, and we'll be doing more stuff like this, and yeah, thanks for watching.